upload it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk until. Hello, everybody. This is Jason Whitney with the 3 Believe webinar about your health, about probably the most important thing in our lives, right? Because even our family, we can't take care of our family if we don't have good health. We can't serve our fellow man. We can't do a good job. We can't rescue damsels in distress without good health, right? So it's probably the most important thing in our lives. So welcome. We're going to be starting here in just a few minutes. I was doing some updated or some new content, and right up to the last minute. I started on it this morning. I've been working on it literally all day. I didn't take a lunch. Fortunately, I had a 3 Believe shake that I could drink while I was working. And I'm waiting as I'm looking for my PowerPoint to upload. And it tells me it has about a minute left. So we're going to talk about an experience that I had. I was talking with a client, and this is just a reality, something that I sometimes get frustrated with, but I'm reminded that it's really, I shouldn't be frustrated. It's not that they don't do things to hurt me, or I'm not even part of the equation, really. It's really about themselves. And it was about beliefs. And she figured that she couldn't continue the program anymore. She's lost 50 pounds, got off her blood pressure medication, got off of her taking metformin for diabetes, had really sore joints, felt great, but she couldn't do it anymore because she said it was too expensive. And it was actually one of the things that inspired me to put some of the new additions in. I wasn't quite ready to announce it, but I wanted to put it in for tonight, because the false belief that sometimes people have is they're talking about why they can and can't do things. Now, it is their reality. It's something that they truly do believe, but it's not necessarily accurate. It's not actuality. And so there's a difference between a person's reality and then actuality, what really is in existence. And so we call those things false beliefs. And I caution people, I even really caution myself about letting my false beliefs get in the way of progress, of what's better for me, better for my family, or better for the people around me. And so I want to make sure that you don't have any false beliefs. Don't let those false beliefs hinder you from the successes that you need to have. And so think about that while we're going through the presentation tonight. I'm just looking here. I'm actually trying to do a little ad-libbing now. I have my technical person here looking. It's been more than 2 minutes that it first told me, tick down to 1, and it's past that time. Let me just double check here. Another thing, I'm going to turn the mic off for just a second. Now what? Okay, everybody, it looks like it finally uploaded. Thank goodness. Hopefully some of you are saying some prayers for me. All right, we're going to get started right away, and hope that you enjoy the new presentation. And it's for a good cause. It talks about chronic health and metabolic syndrome, and more importantly, how to overcome it. So let's talk about what this presentation is all about. What it is that it's trying to do. And what it's trying to do is overcome chronic disease, like I said. So this webinar is all about how to if you have any of those symptoms. And this webinar is for those that don't have any chronic disease. Some of you may not have any, or you don't realize that you have any. So this webinar is for those that don't have a chronic disease and those that do have a chronic disease, and also for those that like saving money. Now, specifically $49.88. I want you to think about that number as we go through it. So I'm going to suggest that you actually want to hear my story because we are more alike than you may believe. We have more in common than you may think. One of the things that we have in common is that you don't want to die a horrible death. I definitely don't want to die a horrible death. It's not on my bucket list. And that's one of the reasons why you want to hear my story. This woman wanted to hear my story. She followed some of the things, my experiences that I had, and she lost 120 pounds in 14 months. She literally looks like an entirely different person. And she's just one of many, literally tens of thousands of people. So who is this for? This is for if you don't have a chronic disease and you want to keep it that way, or if you do have a chronic disease and you want to get rid of it. So what is a chronic disease? Simply put, it is any life-threatening health issue that's lasting longer than 3 months. That's what a chronic disease is. I didn't know that when I first started this journey 10 years ago. And so my claim of why you want to hear my story is not because we're twins, not because we're exactly alike. However, 80% of the people on this call, according to the CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, they say that 80% of the people in the country are, well, they're just like me. And so my goal of this webinar, this web class, is one, for you to understand that the only way to overcome a chronic illness is to find out and learn what is wrong with your microbiome. And the only way you can find out what your microbiome is through the 3Believe RNA gut testing. Now, some of those terms may be new to you, but you're going to find out exactly what they are. So the only way for you to understand what it is to overcome chronic illness is to get the 3Believe RNA test. And the second goal of this class is the only way to treat the issues that are found through the gut test that I'm asking you to get done is to fortify your microbiome through macrobalancing, again, through the program that we offer. That's the goal of my webinar. And so today, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a food scientist that specializes in chronic disease and prevention and a formulator. But I haven't always been that way. What I do is I teach doctors and clinics how to adopt a holistic way of treating all chronic diseases and metabolic syndrome. Things like heart disease and diabetes and weight issues and digestive problems. That's the type of things that I teach doctors, and that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And that's why I think that you want to hear my story. We have other things in common. Because we live here in the United States, we eat here in the United States. I mean, that's true. We may order food in, but we're not ordering from outside the country. And because we all eat here in the United States, we eat the same kind of foods. Now, when I say that, that means that we're eating food from the carbohydrates, from the protein, and the fat categories, all right? Now, I realize that I may love sauerkraut and you may hate broccoli. We don't have to exactly be eating the same foods, but we're eating food from the same categories of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That's what we know. That's what all the studies have shown us. And so let me give it to you in this example. It's kind of like if you take this chicken leg has two elements of a macronutrient. The macronutrient simply is a protein, a fat, and a carbohydrate. But in this chicken, there's no carbohydrates. 52% of the calories that come from this just chicken leg are coming from fat, and 48% of the calories are coming from protein. And let's take this favorite food. Everyone loves pizza, right? Well, 39% are coming from carbs, and then the rest are coming from fats and proteins. And so those are macronutrients. And that's why I say we're all eating the same foods. If we eliminate the name of the food and just call it macronutrients, we're all eating the same thing. Okay? But I want you to understand how much the macronutrients can literally change in a food. Take this example here. You see this chicken leg has 0 carbohydrates, but look, we have 40% of the calories coming from, or in this pizza, right? So they can vary quite a bit. The protein drops to 19%, where it's 48% in the chicken leg. And that just changes throughout all the foods that we eat, because all of our food essentially comes from the same place. Now, you may be eating brand whatever, and I may be eating at a different brand, and everybody else out there is eating a different brand, but they're all essentially coming from the same food factory, which means they're being processed the same way, which is processed foods. And so since we live here, we're eating from these categories. The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, tells us that so in this slide here, what I'm showing here is this is a typical meal. If you broke this down into ratios, you'd see that everybody eats 51%, 34%, and 16% of their food from each one of these categories. Okay. Now, this is what a 51% carbohydrate meal looks like. It's a bowl or a plate of spaghetti with meatballs and some bread, garlic bread, right? So you could say in a dietary way that the entire country is eating this for all of our meals all day long, every day, 365 days a year. As far as a macro balance point of view, not really doing us doing us any good as far as health goes. So all of our food is matching into this basic category. And the problem is that the government agencies are telling us that here in America, 79% of our people are overweight, 46% have high blood pressure, 37% have high cholesterol, 15% are diabetic, 25 to 32% have fatty liver disease. A lot of you haven't even heard of that. 75% of all deaths that occur in the country come from chronic disease, 75%. And 85% of people that are 65 years or older have at least one chronic illness. Why? Because they're eating their foods in this ratio, 51% from carbs, 34% of their calories coming from fat, and 16% coming from protein. The CDC knows this, and it hasn't always been this way. It wasn't that way 5 years ago. It wasn't that way 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Those numbers have been going up steadily in the department of carbohydrates. Back in the 1950s, that percentage was down to about 29%. And so it's doubled in that amount of time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to share with you 3 secrets that I've learned. That's one reason I think that you want to hear my story. And here's an example of why these 3 secrets are so vitally important. This proves my point. The average American eats 2,526 calories a day, but they also burn off 3,105 calories a day. Now that means that there's a deficit of 579 calories. That means that we're burning almost 600 calories more every single day than what we're eating. Well, now, wait a minute. if I'm burning more calories than I'm eating, I should be losing weight. Because if I take that number of calories that we're burning and put it into a pound of fat, which is 3,500 calories, I should be losing a pound of fat every 6.6 days. But that's not what's happening. In fact, if that's what is happening, you'd be seeing reports on the news that the government is offering free food to people because we're all getting too skinny. We're wasting away to nothing. They'd even offer us free food because our nation would be dying off, right? But that's not what's happening. Now, a lot of you have heard this saying. It's very popular. If you do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've gotten, right? Well, the problem with that, our bodies don't know this saying. And what I say means is that what you've eaten so far in your life is why you have the body that you have now, the mind that you have now, and the illness, if you have any, now. It's come from the foods that you've eaten. And if you continue it, you're not going to get and stop where you are. It's only going to get worse. That's why your body doesn't know that saying. It's going to progressively get worse. That's why you can eat less than you did 5 years ago and you're putting on more weight. All right. So this is an important point. The average ratio of the foods are in these categories, and that's telling us something. The studies are telling us that something's gone wrong. I lived that life. I was eating that kind of a ratio, and that's why you want to hear my story, because I overcame all those things through learning about 3 special secrets. Now, this is back 10 years ago. I'm here at the beach. No, I'm not a beached whale here. I'm 280 pounds here, but this was my everyday life. I was almost morbidly obese, which is defined as being over 100 pounds overweight. My joints hurt all the time. I was 44 years old. My joints shouldn't be hurting. I had a stomach ache all day, every day, and I had headaches all the time. Much of the time, I just stopped taking aspirin because it wouldn't help. It wouldn't make it go away. I had no energy, even though I was eating a lot, and I was grumpy. In my previous business, I would have my employees actually offer to buy me lunch because I was so grumpy. And so it affected my mood. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, blood sugar levels were high. I was diabetic. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was my life. Can you relate to any of these symptoms? Do any of these sound familiar to you? Well, then we're more alike than you previously thought. And that's why I think that you want to hear my story of how I overcame all those symptoms, because I didn't want to die a horrible death by those symptoms. I didn't want to die too early, and I don't have to, and neither do you if you follow these 3 secrets. Now remember, 80% of Americans, 80% of the people on this call right now have at least one of the symptoms that I've talked about. Let me give you a visual representation. Here's a crowd of a lot of people. This square, this white square, is representing how many people in our population that don't have any chronic illnesses. It's 20%. That's terrible. Okay? You need a vehicle of a new path to health. Not this kind of vehicle. We're probably eating too many of these kind of foods anyway, right? What the kind of vehicle you want is that you want every cell in your body to be operating and functioning in a perfect order, right? So if you remember what the goal of my this web class is for you to understand what science and what these studies have told doctors, if they read them, people, if they listen to them, is that the only way to overcome a chronic illness is to find out what is wrong with your microbiome. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what your microbiome is, and to get a special RNA gut test. It's a special test that tells you exactly what's going on in there. And so let's break down that word, right? Why chronic disease? Because science has revealed recently that every single disease starts in the gut. All of them. Not genetic disorders, not accidents. That means that all the deaths that we have happen, most of them are coming from a chronic disease, and it starts in our gut. So we got to find out what's wrong with our gut. And they call that bacteria in our gut microbiome. And okay, that's why we have to find out that. The next issue is that the microbiome is really just a balance between good bacteria and bad bacteria. And so if we have an illness, it's because our good bacteria is weak and the bad bacteria is strong. The reason why you need this special 3-believe RNA test is because by clinical proof, all other tests that have been used are only 12% accurate. That means that 80% of them are completely wrong. Let me rephrase that. That means that all the tests are wrong by 88% of the data that it's providing, and unless they're using this new RNA gut technology. And so far there's only one lab that's doing it. So this is your new vehicle in your pathway to a perfect health, right? These are the 3 secrets. The first one is your microbiome, lipid, and glucose testing. These tests will explain where your dysfunction is and what needs to be increased and decreased. What bacteria need to be decreased and increased. Whether your cholesterol needs to be increased or decreased, like your HDL, is it too low? And your glucose testing, is it too high? So let me give you an example of why the biome is so important. This is a report from the Harvard School of Public Health, and they point out and they say that personal microbiome is shown to be as personalized as fingerprints. That means that they did a study that took 2 twins, exactly the same genetically, and they lived in the same home. They ate the same food. They did the same activities. They took a gut sample, sent them to the same lab, and their gut biome was completely different. They weren't the same. And it's because each and every person has a different microbe that's growing in them. So why do you care about this? Why should you even listen to this message? The reason why is because science has revealed that microbiome research and what is in your gut is the biggest scientific breakthrough in the last 100 years. No medical science has been more important than the discovery of our microbiome and what it does and how it affects us. Now, remember, our bacteria is all our bacteria that's on our body and in our body. And it's not all bad. Very little of it is bad. Most of it's good. But if that good bacteria is weak, then we got problems happening. And that's where chronic illnesses start. So here's a report. I started pulling up some clinical studies, just showing you an example of all the things that science is finding out. That starts in our gut. They find these endotoxins, which is bacteria, bad bacteria that leak through our gut wall and enter the bloodstream. That's very bad. This one says that it actually starts triggering insulin resistance. Well, we all know that's a bad thing. Type 2 diabetes, that's definitely a bad thing. Obesity, fatty liver disease, triggering IBS, skin, joint, bowel, brain, and nervous system disorders. The gut biome, if it's bad or weak, it has they discovered and learned that it has its own enteric system and its own reflexes and its own system. They actually call it the second brain. It is in constant communication with the brain on top of our shoulders, and it even affects our moods, emotions, and actions. And that's one reason why I was so moody and my employees were offering to buy me lunch. This one shows that it's actually the cause of colon cancer, irritable bowel syndrome, acne, and cardiovascular disease. 80% of your immune system is dependent on the strength and quality of your microbiome. Now, you may have heard something along that, but it's even more important than that because your microbiome actually teaches your immune system. They're 2 separate things. You have your microbiome and then you have your immune system. And your biome teaches your immune system what and how to defend, what bacteria that needs to die, and which and how they are to combat and kill that bacteria or that virus. Now imagine if our classrooms and our schools had no teachers. If it had no teacher, then no one learns anything. If you don't have the right microbiome that is specifically teaching our bodies how to fight off this illness, let's say high blood pressure, or let's say an infection, then our body doesn't learn. Our immune system doesn't know how to fight it. That's why we have illnesses and sicknesses that we never used to have. And it's just grown over the last 50 years. So remember, studies have shown that every and all diseases start in the gut. So trying to fix your microbiome without testing, without getting an accurate test, not one that's 80% inaccurate, one that doing it without any testing is kind of like, let's say that you're an owner of a cookie factory, all right? And your sales are down and you don't know exactly why they're going down. Now, you have employees that are making your cookies, and they may have some answers because they're working with the cookies and the equipment and the raw materials every single day. But yeah, you don't like to talk to your workers for answers. Okay. And then you've got your clients. Well, they buy your cookies, they taste them, they're experiencing them. That's a good source of information, but you don't like to talk to your clients either for answers. So you don't even look in that direction. You have to look where the answers are. So that's the vital importance of testing. How are you going to fix something if you don't know what's wrong? And if science is telling us that every single chronic disease starts in our gut, shouldn't we be checking our gut? How in the world are we going to know? It's kind of like looking for gold in a silver mine. We're never going to find gold in a silver mine, right? So testing is everything. Testing is where everything starts. So our first secret is testing your microbiome, your lipid, and your glucose test. Second is personalized nutrition. The test of your microbiome will reveal how unique you are. Eating a customized diet that is the only way to achieve your ultimate health. Now, customized diet, how do you get that? So personalized nutrition is kind of like, let's say that you break your leg and you go to the doctor and they don't x-ray you. All they do is they go to the file and they pull out Jim's x-ray. Your doctor specialist is looking at the x-ray going, okay, I know what to do. I know how to treat you. I can see the severity of your break. But you're not Jim. You're Susan. You're Roxanne. You're Callie. You're somebody else. And the specialist is looking at somebody else's x-ray. That's kind of like you following some other diet that a science report said sounded good, or your neighbor had it. But remember the two twins? Genetically exactly the same, and yet their biome is different. You can absolutely guarantee that your biome is not going to be the same of the person that we're following the diet that you just read about. So personalized nutrition is identifying, or it is treating your chronic illness that was identified through your biome test. That's why those two play in such close harmony, and that's why those are the first two secrets to overcome chronic illness. That's how I overcame mine. The third one is really it's a no-brainer, but boy, it's vitally important that you follow some key principle issues. One, it has to be, whatever the solution is, this personalized nutrition has to be a lifestyle that you can adapt to. The value of any wellness program can be measured by your ability to adopt it into your diet for the rest of your life. Because if you only follow it for a little time, then we're only going to get a little bit of results for a short period of time, not for the rest of your life. So being adaptable is kind of like, let's say that we had a perfect cure. Your doctor, let's say that you had let's just say that you had a brain tumor. And they said, you're going to die from this brain tumor unless you quit your job and move. You got to move out to the country and get 8,712 square feet. You got to grow your own food, no pesticides. We'll give you a list of what to do. And you got to have enough land for your animals. Now, because you only have 8,700 square feet, you don't get to have cows, even though you may love cheese and milk and beef. No, you only get goats, chickens, and ducks. That's your meat source. And you get your eggs from the chickens, and well, you can make goat's cheese. All right. And then the well, where you're getting your land, well, you couldn't afford to buy or dig a well. So you just got to boil all your water, so you don't have any bacteria that's in there. And you're working 12 to 14 hours a day working your farm. So you can't do anything else. This is your whole entire life. This would be a major lifestyle change, right? I mean, this is a big deal. Even if they have a terminal illness, who's going to follow this? They just look at their doctor and go, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to quit my job and move my entire family. I can't even afford that. I don't even know the first thing about farming, nor am I interested in farming. I'm a computer programmer. I'm a sales rep. I'm a veterinarian, right? So it doesn't matter if it's the cure, because if the cure is perfect, it is worthless if it's not adaptable, right? If you won't do it, or you can't make it part of your life, well, it's worthless to us, right? So it has to be adaptable. Now, unfortunately, the USDA and the IRS are known as two of probably the most powerful agencies in our government. And part of the reason why is because they control and have influence over our food supply. And the other one is over our money. And with that great responsibility, they know a lot about us. And so I went and found out some information. I found out from the USDA and the IRS that your meal costs on average, when you make it at home, $2.80. Now, how do they know that? Well, the USDA knows and has records of every restaurant, the produce and the meat and the dairy that they buy, and the producers of it, where they sell it and how much they sell. And the IRS, well, every business has to do their taxes, and so they know where that money is coming from. Every business is put into a category, so they know how much money is coming, being generated from fast food restaurants and sit-down restaurants and casual dining and then fine dining. And then they also know how much the grocery stores are making, right? So they know exactly how much this is. So I just looked it up and found out that your average meal that you're making at home costs $2.80. Now, as a financial planner, which is what I used to be more than 10 years ago, I know that most people don't really know how much they're spending. So that is why I went out and got this credible information, and it's undeniable. All right. Now, admittedly, that $2.80 meal can go as high as $4.02 because some people are eating filet mignons for dinner and other people are eating rice and beans. So, and it can go down as low as $2.03. So the range from the USDA and the IRS is from $2.03 up to $4.02, but the average is $2.80. Okay? All right, we got that. That averages out to $8.41 every single day. Okay? Now, they also have that same information on restaurants, and also another department called the National Institute of Health, another government agency, knows how much you and I are buying as far as supplements, things like vitamins and minerals and holistic stuff. Okay? So I just grabbed those numbers as well. And away from home, when you eat out away from home, you're spending on average $5.85 a day. That doesn't mean you're eating every day. It means because when's the last time you had a meal away from home for $5.85? Well, because it costs more, it spread it out over the week. It breaks down to $5.85 a day. And then for vitamins and minerals and holistic stuff, it averages out to $1.63 a day. So that totals out, add up your foods from home, away from home, vitamins and minerals, $15.93 every single day. Now, somebody's doing it. So if it's not you, then it's your neighbor. It's a person sitting next to you, right? So these are good, hard fact numbers. Now, admittedly, some of you may not be buying vitamins and minerals. So let's just take that out. And that dropped it down to $14.30 with no supplements. If you average it out for the month, it's $434.96. Now, I even challenge you, take a little notepad. Well, a lot of people have phones now or smartphones. Every time you buy something, just mark it down in your phone. At the end of the month, you'd be amazed that you're almost right at this number, if not more. You'd be amazed. I do this trick with my customers as a financial advisor, and they're always surprised. So I challenge you to do the same thing. You'll find the same type of numbers. So you've been paying $14.30 a day, and that has provided by the information we've got from the CDC and our medical departments. That's actually causing our chronic disease. So you're paying $14.30 to be the level of health that you are, right? So the 3B Wellness Program is going to take 30 home produced meals, just like you're doing now. It's going to include another 84 health meals that's going to fix that chronic illness. And even if you weren't taking vitamins and minerals before, we're going to give you vitamins and minerals and all the other botanicals that science says that you need to have at a rate of 300% of your recommended dose every single day. We're really going to make sure that you have the right amount that you need. We're just going to include that. Even though you may not be buying vitamins and minerals for now, we're just going to give it to you anyway. Okay? So you've been paying $14.30 a day and getting chronic illness, whatever it is, or at least 80% of you are. And you can get healthy, what we call our wellness food, for $12.66. Now, if you subtract that, that comes out to $49.88. Remember, and I said, remember that number? For those of you, this webinar is for those that like saving money. Well, that's how much the average person can save, $49.88, if they do this wellness program. Follow these 3 secrets and you'll overcome your chronic illness. Now, if you've been struggling, this is probably wise because you're not following those 3 secrets. In fact, I'm just going to erase, because of the clinical studies and the mountain of evidence, I can erase probably and just go, this is why you're suffering from those issues. So remember, if the cure is too difficult, the disease will win, because the cure isn't adoptable into your lifestyle. That's why we made this so simple and so cost effective. Our program encompasses all 3 of these most important secrets. Now, there's other secrets that we throw in there, but these are the main ones. These are the foundational secrets that the studies say. So any food that you're eating, it doesn't matter if it's let's say you do have a garden. Let's say you are growing your own food. If your food you're eating is matching this ratio, it doesn't matter where that food source is coming from. If it has this macronutrient, you're going to get the results of this. 79% of the population being overweight, 46 have high blood pressure, 37 with high cholesterol. I mean, just look around at the people that you know, people that are in your family, eating healthy. How many runners do you know that still have weight that are on them that they want to lose? Or they're taking medication for high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes. This isn't an accident. This is well thought out science and very, very defined. So it doesn't matter if you're young and you're eating that, or if you're old and it's eating that. It also doesn't matter your age if you change your life around you. We have so many people. We have people that are 93 years old that are literally changing and turning back the hands of time by following these 3 secrets as I've outlined. So let me give you a more of my personal story. That's a picture of me back when I was 18 years old. That's my wrestling outfit. I wrestled 185 in high school. And there's a picture of me at 44 years old. And here's a picture of me today at 56 years young. If I put on my headgear, would I look just like I did at 18? Well, I'm not too far off, maybe a little less hair. So who does this program work for? Who is this all going to apply to? Well, it applies to people that are 56 years old and they want to feel young again. It's mothers that want to lose that stubborn baby fat that they haven't been able to lose on that 3rd child. It's business people that simply don't have any time to prepare meals and to be healthy. It's people that hate to work out. It's people that love to work out at the gym or on the road or whatever their exercise they're doing. It's for people that have a chronic illness now. Any of those things that we talked about, any of those things that you could relate to that I had. It's the people that are super healthy and they want to take it to the next level. They just feel that they haven't quite overcome all of their issues. They haven't achieved all of their wish or their bucket list items. And it's all types of people. It works for everybody. Well, it's not working for the Walking Dead. Sorry, you're not allowed. They're kind of smelly. Their money is smelly. Nope, it's not going to work for them. Okay? This is why you want to hear my story. And so let me tell you a little bit more details of the experience that I went through. What drove me to change the entire course of my life? How did I do it? What were the challenges that I had? So this is where I am now, healthy. All my biomarkers and all my health numbers are right perfectly in order. And it's by me following those secrets. Let me give you a little bit of testimonies. You heard the one from this woman here. I'm going to just highlight the ones in red. So here we got Bob that lost 68 pounds. He had high blood pressure, but now it's perfect at 112/77. He also had gastric reflux, and that went away. He sleeps now with no problems where he had difficulty before. His knees were sore, and now they're not giving him any more pain. Here we have Aiden. He was very skeptical, like a lot of people here that are listening to this call are probably skeptical. He had high blood pressure, but he was also prone to low pressure, dropping too low. Diabetes was running in his family, and he himself was suffering from those issues. After a month and a half on the program, he went back to his doctor. She reported he was in perfect health, asked him to be a model for his other patients. Here we have Julie. Julie, she had low energy, sore joints, she had belly fat, her cholesterol levels were too high, her blood sugar levels were out of whack. 2 weeks into the program, she had more energy. A month later, her joints no longer hurt. She was losing weight. She no longer craved sugary foods. Isn't that something a lot of people suffer from when they go on a diet? Their cravings for sugars and carbs actually go up. That wasn't what she experienced, and either do other people. She lost 40 pounds after a couple of months. Her blood pressure went back to normal. That's just a normal occurrence that Julie experienced. Here's one from Mike. He was in a very unique situation. He had a third of the pancreas was gone. You need that organ. His gallbladder was gone. His pyloric valve was removed, and 15 inches of his small intestine. That makes it really hard to digest food. He was in a lot of discomfort. He was 66 years old. After starting on the program, he lost 28 pounds, 4 inches off his waist. He was sleeping better. He can climb stairs better. He can race around with the grandkids. These are all normal symptoms. People that have diabetes, like Dale, he was taking metformin. His doctor started giving him insulin. He was sick all the time. He felt terrible, and he started the program, and his blood sugar went down. How far? Far enough where he got off his insulin. A very common thing for diabetics is their legs hurt all the time. He didn't have any more any more pain in his legs. And he lost weight that he had been trying to lose. These are just normal symptoms. So these people may be like you. And that's why I think you may want to hear how I overcame this stuff. So I was 280 pounds at 44 years old. I had all the symptoms I told you about. I'm a food scientist now, but I didn't used to be. I used to do something else. Today, I teach doctors and clinics how to overcome the very same things that you're hearing about. So when I was a financial analyst, I sat down a lot, worked long hours, was a specialist in my field, but things were not looking very good for me. I turned that clock around by following these things. So simply by identifying my weight wasn't the worst problem that I had. And when I was going through these issues, I knew that there was something else happening because I had all of these other symptoms. I didn't know it at the time, but I could feel them. I felt terrible. So I had over 10 chronic diseases. So I scheduled an appointment with my doctor. My motivation was I didn't want to die early. It wasn't so much that I was afraid of death. I just didn't want to die before my time. And the reason why is that I had some history with early death in my life. My mother was a single mom of 6 children. I was second from the youngest, and I was scared to death because she died when I was 13 at 44 years old, at the same age that I was when I was feeling terrible. So that scared me. My dad, he died at 52 of a heart disease or heart attack, had heart disease and failing liver. And I didn't know about these 3 secrets at the time. I came to learn them. I've already told you about all the symptoms that I had. Some of those that you may relate to, some that you already have. Well, if you have them for the same reasons that I did, right? Lacking biome and eating the same ratios of foods that I was eating. So I decided to go to my doctor, right? Called, made an appointment. Well, my doctor wasn't this guy. He was more like this guy. Right? He was not the happiest person. So I told him about my symptoms, and he ran me through a battery of tests. He put me on complete blood test. He did a urine test. He gave me a heart stress test. He put me even in, and I went and had my fat tested, which was horrible news. I was 75% or 75 pounds of added fat to my body. That was just terribly demoralizing. Then I had my prostate test. I thought that was the worst test until they checked the prostate test from the other end. That was the absolute worst. And after the test, I was expecting a party. I think that if doctors threw parties after you go through this battery of tests, which are absolutely no fun, people would want to have more of them. They should even give you a medal after you're done, because they're not the funnest thing in the world. But after the test, or what I was looking for, the results from my test, I was convinced in one side of my brain, maybe it was my ego that was speaking, that there was nothing wrong. I have great numbers. I was a stud athlete. I didn't really eat any junk food. I just ate, the wrong ratio of food. I ate a lot of food, but not really as much as a 280-pound person you'd think. Just that I ate in these ratios, like, the rest of America. I didn't turn down meals so much, but no matter what the meal was, I was eating it in this ratio. I was definitely in denial. I thought I looked better than my numbers really were going to tell me. So I went back home, waited for the test to come back, and then I got the call from the doctor's office telling me to come back in. He wanted to see me and tell me what my results were. This is the other side. I didn't want to go because I was afraid of hearing what he might have to say. Remember, I had this fear, this experience. My mom dying at 13. I thought, is this what happens? For a 13-year-old, 44 years old is ancient, right? That's an old person. You don't realize that that's not old until you start to get close to that age, right? So I didn't want to go back to the doctor to hear the bad news. So I go back to Dr. Smiley, and he just blurted out, sat me down in his office and said, you have metabolic syndrome and you have several other chronic illnesses. Now, I was an educated guy and I thought pretty smart. I had no clue what metabolic syndrome was. I didn't know what that was. And I really didn't know what chronic illness meant. Now, I knew that chronic meant something bad because I'd never, ever heard anyone say, oh, that guy is chronically handsome or chronically intelligent. I just knew it was a bad thing, but I didn't exactly know what it was. So I just sat there, not exactly happy. I started thinking in my mind as he was talking that I don't want to die a horrible death. I actually was wondering if this is it for me. I remember actually asking the doctor, how long do I live? How long do I have to go? When he told me metabolic syndrome and chronic illness, I just thought, well, this is it. How long do I have? And he just laughed, right? And said, you're not dead yet, but this is serious. You need to take this serious. Let me tell you how serious it is. I'm going to show you your test results. He showed me in this column here is all your numbers that are bad. The numbers right next to it, that's how high those numbers can go. And you're out of whack on every single one. You failed them all. Well, that's why I want to give you medication for diabetes, because you're at 130 and you're not supposed to be more than 80, right? And so you fail that one, I'm going to give you diabetes. Now, I didn't know it at the time. Had I known it, I would have ran out of his office right then. But as a food scientist, this is what we study, right? I found out this list here that you see on the screen are all the side effects that people get. Not some people, a majority of people get when they're on diabetic medication. Now look at some of these ones in red. Joint pain, racing heart, vomiting, diarrhea, muscle pain. Here's some real bad: seizures, nausea, depression, difficulty concentrating, slurred speech. These are not good things at all. And then he moved on to blood pressure. He says, well, you got high blood pressure. It's 152 over 102. That's not good. I'm going to give you a medication for that too. And let me show you the list. These are the side effects from taking medication for hypertension, kidney damage, digestive disorders. It'll actually raise your triglycerides and your LDL cholesterol and your overall cholesterol. This is terrible. I thought medication is supposed to be healthy and take you away from danger, right? But he kept going on talking about cholesterol. He says your total cholesterol is way out of whack. Your HDL, which is supposed to be high, it's too low. Your triglycerides are out. Your LDL is out. Your ratio, now, that's simply just your good cholesterol balanced against your bad cholesterol. Well, that's terrible. You're over twice as high as you should be there. And so I'm going to give you medication for cholesterol. Again, look at the ones in red, right? Muscle death. It actually kills muscle tissue. Elevated CPK, that's just very bad for your heart. Kidney failure, liver damage, neurological loss. It actually it increases your chances of type 2 diabetes by 500%. I can't believe it. And yet 80% of our nation has at least one of the symptoms of these issues. This is how serious this is. These are all chronic diseases. Can you relate to any of these numbers? Do these numbers sound familiar of some numbers that you have, or of someone that you love, or your neighbor? These are serious numbers. And the doctor remembered, and he said, well, I know you have digestive issues, so let's give you some medication for that. I don't know exactly what the problem is. Well, back then, they didn't know. 10 years ago, they knew very little about microbiome. This is just cutting edge stuff that's come out recently. Then he said, you're probably depressed, so let's give you some medication. So many of my patients are on that. I just said, I think I'm good. I walked out of there with 6 medications already. I got to tell you, I didn't go fill them. I couldn't. My ego just wouldn't allow me to. What's sad is that almost 70% of Americans are on one medication. What? That is terrible. And 20% of the population have 5 medications or more. Now, I learned, don't freak out about this, but did you know that 340 people die every day from taking medication? Now, I'm talking about medications that are prescribed correctly. They're not overdosing. They're not taking them out of sync with other things. They're doing exactly what the pharmacist and doctor tell them to. It's just a negative side effect that happens. 340 people die every day from taking the medications that they're supposed to be taking the correct way. That's a terrible side effect. In fact, today's medications have a 33% chance of causing a serious reaction. Okay. If you came to me when I was doing financial services and as a financial analyst, and I told you, you have a 33% chance of losing all your money, would you invest money in the account that I recommended? Heavens no. That's 33%. If you were riding in a car with Harry and Lloyd and you found out that 1 out of 3 times they get in the car, they get in a serious car crash, would you get in the car with them? Absolutely not. Those odds are too high. So you had to understand the reason why I didn't have the prescriptions filled, because I used to be a stud. I had 5 state championship titles between high school and freestyle. I was an all-state football player. I played both ways. I never came off the football field. I played offense and defense, and I was on the kicking team. I was an All-American. I actually represented the United States as a internationally in wrestling, and was honored enough to be a world champion wrestler. I was an athlete. I was a stud. But when the doctor was telling me this diseases that I had and the medications he wanted to give me, I felt like, Lady Luck just had me down on the ground with her boot on my head. I used to be a world champion wrestler. Now I was a champion eater, right? I was a champion of chronic diseases. This is terrible. My ego just didn't allow me to take the medications. I wanted to find an answer. I believed that there had to be an answer out there. Scientists, doctors, somebody, reports, a research lab had to have dug up information that would give me answers of how to avoid this. I didn't know these 3 secrets, but I just believed there had to be some secrets out there. So fortunately, I was self-employed, had a company. I rearranged my schedule over the next 18 months. I still worked, but not as many hours at my old job as a financial analyst. But over the next 18 months, I read 600 clinical studies. I read literally 10, 12 hours a day. I was putting in 16 to 18 hour days, but I was reading 6.5 days a week. And I did that for 18 months. What I did is I took all the data that they identified what causes chronic disease and how to cure it the healthy way without medications and surgeries. That's how I found these 3 secrets. In fact, I found many, many secrets. One of the things I found with diabetes is that, blood sugar levels were too high, but then mine would drop too low. Drugs make my cells more sensitive to insulin. That's one of the good things that drugs do. But there's the negative side effects that come as I read them to you. So I was making too much insulin, right? My blood was turning my glucose, or my blood was, my cells were not absorbing the glucose that was in my bloodstream. And so I had too much glucose and too much insulin floating around in my blood. This is why I was a diabetic. So I read what the study said about reversing diabetes. Now, the internet, if you want to go out there and look, it says, cut your carbs to reduce. That's a popular remedy to reduce your diabetes. But that just makes you more hungry. Like the lady from the testimony, she said, that's a common thing. The studies told me to do something different. The studies told me to focus on insulin levels, not on glucose levels. Major, major difference. My test that the doctors did on me told me that my cells were sick and tired of insulin. They didn't want any more insulin. That my glucose was being converted to fat. That's why I was gaining so much weight. That's why I was so fat. I'd work out and nothing would work. I'd go to the gym and nothing was working. I'd cut way down on my couch and nothing would work. And my liver was terrible at converting my stored fat into energy. This is what I learned. The studies told me, don't focus on the symptom. Don't focus on low energy. Don't focus on your high cholesterol. Focus on the foods that make your pancreas stop producing insulin. That was a breakthrough. And then I started doing that. I reversed my insulin levels. They started loving insulin again, which in turn made my liver start burning fat at almost a pound a day. As soon as I started doing that, I was losing a pound of fat a day. And I didn't take any of the drugs, but I didn't have a need for them anymore for my any of the symptoms anymore. Then I went on to the blood pressure. What the internet tells us that sodium is what causes high blood pressure. Sodium doesn't cause high blood pressure. Now the studies do absolutely say that if you have what that causes high blood pressure and you add salt, it'll make it go higher. In fact, if sodium was so bad, why are doctors taught to put sodium in an IV when they go to the hospital or an emergency room? In fact, you can die if you don't have it. That's why they give it to you all the time. So the studies told me to focus on the cause. So again, if you have what's making blood pressure in your cells and you take more, it's going to go up. So let's start dealing with the what's causing the high blood pressure. And when I did that, my blood pressure went down. I applied these principles and all of those negative symptoms. My cholesterol went from 336 to 172. Look at these ratings. I dropped 49%. I increased my good cholesterol 80%. I dropped my triglycerides by 78%, my LDL by 49%. My ratio improved by 65%. That's my story of having over 10 chronic diseases, and then I had none of them in 12 weeks. I didn't go to the gym. It didn't work out. I did it all through the diet and microbiome. That's why I think that you wanted to hear my story, because America is also like me. So the people Americans are getting sick. Over 80% have at least one of the symptoms of chronic disease. Now, the good news is that it's completely preventable, and the bad news is that it's growing faster than the people are finding out about these 3 secrets. So you can be like me. This picture was actually when I was 41. The other pictures was when I was 44. But I look younger at 56 than I do at 41. I'm definitely a lot more healthy. Maybe not as young as I was when I was 18, but I have many the same symptoms that abilities that I did when I was younger. This is what 197 pounds looks like instead of 280. Right? Can you relate to any of these situations that I had? Remember, a chronic disease, if you have it, is any life-threatening condition that lasts for 3 months or longer. Even asthma, okay? Cancer is in that list. But it's a lot of things that you don't see. Depression, diabetes and asthma, COPD and heart disease. Those are all hidden chronic disease issues. Here's a long list, and I apologize that the writing's so small, but I couldn't fit on there. And that's only a partial list of the chronic diseases. 85% of the population that are 65 years and older have at least one chronic illness. I was a world champion when I was younger. I was at 44 years old, and I was one of the 85%. That was terrible. Thank goodness I was able to reverse it with no wrestling practice, thank goodness, in just 12 weeks. You can do that. Now, when I was in high school, I held the record in the entire state. I weighed 185 pounds and benched 465. I don't tell you that to impress you. I tell you upon you how far I degenerated at 44. I couldn't even do a pull-up. I couldn't do tying my shoes. I had to hold my breath to bend down to tie my shoes. Sitting up was impossible. I had to roll out of bed. Jogging was a joke. You heard about my other symptoms. I was scared to death that 3 out of 4 deaths were by chronic disease. They are completely reversible. It all starts in your gut. It's the number one health complaint because 50% of the people have a stomach ache. If that's one of you, then you know it's the microbiomes in your gut. And we can test that and turn around almost every single time those issues. Your nutrients, because your microbiomes are not working right, you're only absorbing 47% of your nutrient. That's one of the reasons why people are overeating. So your microbiome is vitally important. I mean, think about this for a second. We have 100 trillion microbiome cells. They're not human cells, they're bacteria. Our human cells are about 30 trillion. That means that we have about 90% of our whole body is not human, it's bacteria. And if we're made up of that much of this bacteria stuff, shouldn't we be focusing on how the good ones we have and the bad ones we have? And are we having the right mixture? Science has told us that all chronic disease comes out of our gut. We should listen to that, right? They're finding that they're able to reverse with almost in every case the things that are on this list simply by balancing out the microbiome. That's why I wanted to share this photo with you as the first time ever. You're one of the very first in the world to see this photo. This is for the first time a microbiome in your gut communicating with your brain. They didn't think that it could do that. They didn't know how it was communicating, but it's actually communicating instantaneous, sending signals up to the brain, even influencing mood, changing, telling the brain what to do. And it is why they call it the second brain. Microbiomes are all over and all on our bodies and in our bodies. We got to find out what they are. I changed my numbers in 12 weeks. You can too. I've kept it off. I've kept those numbers healthy for the last 10 years. That's why you wanted to hear my story. So now, if you have any of the symptoms that I had, you know how you got it. It's by eating your foods in this ratio, and those foods are mostly enzyme dead, bacteria dead. You're getting foods that are shipped to you from all over the world, and they're processed, and all the biomes are killed. So if you want to overcome them, you have to employ these 3 secrets. The average results are most impressive. Over 5 pounds of fat loss the first week, 12 inches. One of the testimonies said he lost 10 pounds the first week. People's biomarkers are improving. 82% are either eliminating their medications or reducing. This is in the first 60 days, mind you. So it's a very simple test. You can do this. You're not going to starve. You're going to be eating 4 meals a day. We just give you 1 sheet. You follow that, and it's most effective. So let's talk about and think about the cost of your health. How valuable is it to you? Here's an example of our program compared against some of the most popular programs. You got the Zone Diet. Now, what this measurement is how much does it cost per pound for a person to lose 30 pounds? So if you've got 30 pounds to lose, how much is it going to cost? Well, the Zone Diet, let's just take this. On average, it's going to cost you $151.81 times 30. Wow, that's $4,500. Jenny Craig is $95, better, but still really high. Weight Watchers, almost $50. Nutrisystems, $40. HCG Diet, not as popular as it used to be, but it's still $30 a pound. Ours is less than $10 a pound. That's pretty impressive. So you've understood, you've been taught through this webinar what a chronic disease is, how you got it, and the 3 secrets of how to overcome it. So you literally, I want you to understand, you literally have the chance to change your headline, your story. Today, your headline says that you may suffer from several chronic diseases. Tomorrow's headline could be that you could be enjoying perfect health. It's literally up to you now. So I ask for permission, if I may. Can I give you an offer? Can I tell you in detail? I changed my entire career after I found this. It moved me that much. Became a food scientist and started working with 3 Believe. That's why I wanted to see if you're interested in what I'm having to tell you. So here's the offer that we're giving you tonight. Is the microbiome test. When it first came out, it was actually cost about $15,000 in the lab. Then they lowered it down to about $5,000. Most recently, I've heard that it's $2,500. We can get it for about just about $2,000 for a microbiome test. All right. Now you're not going to pay these prices, but when we're selling to doctors and clinics, as I told you, that's where we got our start. This is what the doctors are charging their patients. Then you get to get a blood test, all your cholesterol and your glucose test. That's about $850. And down at the bottom is those 2 numbers added together. So far we're at $2,829. Now remember, you're not going to pay that, but I want you to understand the value of what we're offering. We're going to give you a month's worth. That's 84 meals, 3 meals a day of the right foods, balancing that right ratio, what the study said. So far we're at $3,500. Now, let me just recap. You're going to get the microbiome test, because if you don't know what's wrong, then we're just shooting in the dark. We're just trying a diet program that works for a lot of people, but we want it to work for you. You're special. You're different. Let's deal with how your body is reacting to the foods you're eating. So we're going to get the blood test, and we give you a scale that measures your body fat percentage, your muscle mass, it measures your hydration levels. That'll just be right there in your home. That's included in that kit. And then we're going to give you 30 days, 84 meals of well-balanced, 100% of all your vitamins and minerals, fruits and meat and dairy, all those things that our body needs, all in those 84 meals. Okay, then we're going to give you a personalized enzyme plan. We're going to get that from the microbiome test. Now we're not shooting in the dark. That's $825. Well, you got to have probiotics too, because that's what feeds the bacteria. And now we're at $4,800. Now remember, you're not going to pay that. This is what doctors are charging their patients when we give this program to them. So we're going to give you a personalized food list. What that means is the test is actually going to show you what kind of foods you should be eating. And then we're going to tell you the foods that you shouldn't be eating. Your microbiome will actually tell us that information too. So we're at $5,500 so far. So let's just recap real quick. You're going to get your microbiome test. We're going to know where to go and what to treat. Your blood test, we know what your levels are. If you're a type 2 diabetic, we can treat that. If you have other conditions, we can treat those. We're going to give you 30 days worth of food. We're going to personalize your enzyme plan. You know, you've heard about how important enzymes and probiotics are. We're going to tell you exactly what that kind you should be having. And then we're going to give you a food list of the foods that you should be eating, foods that you should not be eating. This is where allergic foods like celiacs will come out of. We'll be able to know that information, right? So the special offer is so far at $5,846. So we're going to add a personal results evaluation. Now, what that means is these tests will come back and you're not going to know how to read them. We're going to tell you exactly what it means. We're going to break it down into common language. Then we're going to do some intuitive coaching. We're going to provide you with actually how to make this a lifestyle that you can maintain for the rest of your life. We don't want you to be healthy for a little while and then quit. So far, we're at $7,843. Can you believe this is what doctors were charging their patients just to get on the path of healthy? But that's not all. We give you training videos you have access to. We're at $8,200. So just a quick recap, you got your gut test, your blood test, your 30 days of food. We're going to give you your enzymes and your probiotics. We're going to give you a personalized food that you're supposed to be eating, the foods you're not supposed to be eating. We're going to break that down and tell you what it all means. We're going to give you intuitive coaching, and we're going to give you training videos that come automatically to your email account every week. But that's not all. I'm going to give you a bonus. We have some flavored extracts that flavors your meal or your shakes up to as many as 500 different flavors. We're going to give that to you for get you started on that. We're going to make sure that your electrolytes are balanced out. We're going to give you an oil pump for your omega oils. We're going to give you a free shaker bottle. We're going to give you a measuring tape so you can see how many inches you lost. Like Bob lost 4 inches this first week or first 2 weeks. And we're going to give you our own no calorie, all natural sweetener. We're going to give you some blockers that will block unwanted carbohydrates and fats when you do have to go out and eat at a wedding or a business meeting. All that's worth $176. Add that to the price. Now we're at $8,441 is what doctors are charging their patients for everything we're giving you that, but you're not going to pay that. Okay, that's not what we're going to charge. You can have all of that for only $797. That's it. Now, I understand that some of you may not be able to afford $797. I know you all want the benefits of it, so I can provide a little less. We're going to, if we take out the microbiome test, and I hate to do that because that's the most important, and the intuitive coaching, the personal enzyme, and the probiotic. So everything that's in gray is not on the list. We won't be able to tell you what your food list that you should be eating and shouldn't be eating, because again, that all comes from the microbiome test. It's still a great value at almost $2,100 for $395. Now, let me break this down. Remember when I started out and telling you the woman that said she couldn't afford it? Well, what she was really saying as a financial analyst, I understood this. And we sent out a survey asking, what do you mean when you really say you can't afford it? What they're saying is that they can't afford it all at one time. Because when you and I go to the grocery store, we go to the grocery store on average 3 times a week. We don't go once a month, right? And when you go to the fast food restaurant or a sit-down restaurant, you don't pay a month's worth of times you're going to go there all at one time. And so it's this, the amount of money that you have to come up with right now can be a little hard. So we have provided a special payment program. This is how dedicated I am to you getting the same results that I am. So the first week, if you pay $350, and then the second week, $150, third week, $150, fourth week, $150, that adds up to $797. That means that you make a payment of $350. We will invest in your health. We'll actually send you all of the stuff out so that you can get started, and then you'll just make the rest of the payment. Now it's more like you're going to the grocery store. Now, those of you that want to do the $395 plan, it's the same thing. We'll do the same thing. It's just $98.75 a week. Well, if you remember, based on the USDA and the IRS, you're paying more than that anyway, right? So we're just making it in a weekly payment plan. Your grocery store won't even do that. So we're really, really committed to your health. Now, I'll even throw in free shipping if you do an ACH program for those payments. Free shipping, you don't get charged any shipping. Nobody likes to pay shipping. Thanks to Amazon, all businesses hate Amazon for the simple reason that they do free shipping. But Prime, you got to pay what? I think it's like $100 a year or $120 a year, and you get free shipping. Well, you won't have to pay any annual fee. You just do the ACH program on a weekly, and we will include the shipping. It'll come to you, no shipping. Now, I just want to remind you, I really do prefer the other plan with the microbiome. And this is the reason why. 10 years ago when we started, I wanted to do personalized nutrition, but we really didn't have the ability because our tests were only 12% accurate. And I was unwilling to do a shot in the dark, right? Now there's tests online. Some of them are as expensive as $730. That's as much as what I'm charging for all the other stuff. But those tests are not accurate. They'll use hair and saliva and blood and urine. This one drives me crazy. There's one test that will do a DNA test, which is great, but based on your DNA, let's take like me, I'm half Swedish. They go back into the ancestry of 400 years ago of what Swedes ate to tell me what I should be eating. You got to be kidding me. That's not accurate. That remember the story of the two twins? There were twins and they weren't the same. Definitely my distant relatives from 400 years ago are not going to tell me what I should be eating today. So we use a test that is different. These tests that you're paying for online is basically telling you what you should eat. And the goal is to be the best you. But the sad news is they're only 12% accurate. I can't do that. That's just not right. It's literally a waste of time and money. And here's proof that they're inaccurate. Here's a third-party, peer-reviewed study. This is just one of the studies that proves that it's 88% false. Look down here at the underlined part. It says 70% of the species were assigned to the different OTUs. What that means is there's a lot of different types of bacteria. They weren't even putting them in the right category. By 70%, they were putting them in the wrong category. Then it goes on to say that up to 88% of the predicted genius names were false. That's terrible. That's terrible. The study even went on to say that therefore they're not reliable. Not reliable. They're 12% accurate. That's terrible. Now, where did this come? How can we get this fixed? Los Alamos National Laboratory, a government laboratory. That's the same one that was part of the Manhattan Project in building the atomic bomb. Some of the greatest minds still work there. Cutting edge science comes out of there. They developed a brand new technology. They made the announcement that all chronic disease comes out of the gut, and they now can identify it with perfect accuracy. It's the most comprehensive and accurate test in the world, but you don't have to pay $2,500 for it. You can get it here for all included, everything, the food and the list for less than $800. Now, let me show you an example of one of the tests. So this is what you're going to get. All right, now over in this column where the red arrow is, that's all the bacteria, all the strains of bacteria. And in this column is what your number should be. The next column is what everyone that sent in the test where they're averaging in. And then the last one is what the sample of yours is going to be. Now, in this example, it's seen there that it's too high. That bacteria is too active. So that test is saying you got too much of that bacteria, higher than it's supposed to be. That tells us where we can focus. It tells us what we should be working on. This is great. We've never been able to have this kind of stuff before. Now, this one down here shows that same person, but it is too low. See, that one's they're at they're at 0.72%, and it should be up to almost 9%. So that tells us what we need to do, what kind of bacteria we need to add. So it doesn't stop there. It just keeps on going. More bacteria strains. Like I said, the most complex of any on the market. And then it goes on to species, and it goes into genus, goes into phylum. It goes into listing the rare bacteria that are there. It goes in, and I know I'm just showing off now, but it shows the bacteria that are the good guys, and it also showing the probiotics that are there. Now, why that's important is that tells us where we need to add more, because this person only has 2 of the probiotic strains that are in her gut. Okay, this is great data. Now, here's an example of your top superfoods that you're supposed to eat. Remember that I told you that the list of foods that you're supposed to be eating? Well, in this sample, she's supposed to take sauerkraut. Now, I happen to know that this person hates sauerkraut. And what if your test comes back and you hate garlic and black beans, right? The reason why I'm telling you this is, what if you get this back, you're excited about the test result, you know what to work on, but you hate the food that is the best thing for you? What if I could tell you that we will provide you the superfoods in its raw form, powdered, unadulterated, and then you can add it to your meal, you can add it to your shake, you can add it to your breakfast, and it has all the components, all the things that your cells are looking for. Let's say sauerkraut, right? But without you having to eat and taste the sauerkraut. That's what we'll provide for you. And the list goes on. So here's an example of your food list. You're supposed to highlight. Look at the detail that this is providing. This is telling us that the actual foods, asparagus and broccoli and cucumbers, are all on her list. They just happen to be low carb. Isn't that a coincidence? Then it goes on to the fruits that she should be eating. These fruits are also on the low glycemic scale. That's interesting. Then it tells you the type of fats, which happens to be flaxseed oil, which is exactly what we give you in your program. That's why we give you that oil pump. And then it lists all the types of protein. So we give you protein in the meal replacement shakes, but when you go to eat the actual meat, that's telling you the types that you should be eating. This is data that we've never had since the creation of mankind. This is invaluable. This is what only the rich and famous used to be able to provide. And you can get all of it for less than $800. Now, you may be finding that some of these things, you don't even know what they are. You may know what beet greens are, but have you ever had them? Endive, rutabaga. Well, what if these things are not stuff that's down in your store? We'll provide that in the powdered form for you too, so you can still have the benefit of getting it in your food on a daily basis, even if it's out of season. This is the value of what being on our program will provide. And it just keeps on going. It tells us the meats and the seafoods and the legumes. And then it tells you the foods you should be avoiding, right? All these foods that normally people are saying, hey, this is healthy food. Why would I avoid healthy food? Like brown rice and tofu and quinoa and yogurt. I thought those were healthy things. Well, not if your body is not in love with it. This is why you need this list. This is why it's so vitally important. So again, that's why I asked you, can I give you an offer? I want you to don't ask if the food is healthy. I want you to ask, is it healthy for you? The only way you can know if it's healthy for you is getting the test, the microbiome test. And if we've made it possible, you can pay $797 all at one time, get it over with, or you can do the payment plan. So for the first time ever, we can give you accurate testing, telling you exactly what your cells are needing to be healthy, but also to cure its ailment. It's sustainable. You can do it. It's less than $3.47 a meal. You're paying more for that anyway, according to the USDA and the IRS. And well, they know everything anyway, right? I mean, they know everything that we're doing. This is true sustainable healthcare. So I want to ask you a question. If you don't make a change now in your life, when will you? When you're in the hospital, after you have a heart attack, or you have your second one? You already know that if you leave your diet alone, it's only going to get worse. You got to change it, but you got to know what to do. Change your headline. You have the power for the first time in history to literally pick the disease that you want to have, whether you want to have it or not. This is what this program will provide for you. So which headline do you want? Do you want one that is having disease, or what's your headline? Do you want one that has perfect health? It's literally your choice. So you know which one I'm recommending. We've made it very, very affordable. You pay one time $350 and then $150 after that, or $98.75 on the $395 plan. And that's just for the first month. You don't have to pay that every month. It goes down from there. So there's the program that I'm offering. That's how I overcame these issues. That's why I became a food scientist. You can pay for it by credit card, or you can pay for it through PayPal credit if you don't have a credit card. 0 interest, no payment for 6 months, or you can do the payment plan, right, directly through us. We don't charge you any interest. And if you do the ACH program, then I'll even knock off the shipping and make it that much more cheap. So call the number or talk to the person that referred you. Let's get you started. Don't waste any time. The number is 866-832-3543. Write it down. Don't forget it. Call and get it handled tomorrow, 866-832-3543. It's not going to fix itself. Remember, the $797 is just for the first month. After that, it's just $300. Okay, that's for phase one. That's to get you started. Then you can go down as low as 135 just to maintain your health, and that's even it's even less. That's you start out with 350. You go to 150 for the first month, or for the per week for the first month, and you drop it down to $75. That's unbelievably reasonable. So I'm going to take some questions. Looks like we've got some questions here. Person saying, I can't afford the $797 a month, but they want to be healthy. So again, let me just reiterate, you won't be paying $797 every month. You pay that for the first month. That's because we're doing the testing. We don't have to do testing every month. And you don't need a starter kit with the shaker bottle and the blood test, all that stuff, and the scale. You don't need another scale the second month. And that's why it's only $75 a week after that. You're paying that much now anyway. It's going to save you at least $50 a month, right? So you're spending $15.93 a day. Now you can spend $9.86 a day. Well, that's cheap, right? You can afford that, or you can do it on the other plan. So you don't have to pay the $797. Next question. That's the same question. I'm 82 years old. Is it too late for you? Absolutely not. The studies show that it has nothing to do with age. What it has to do with what your body is taking in and your microbiome balance. Next one is there a guarantee? Absolutely. We offer a 30-day guarantee. If you're not happy, you don't even have to pay the full amount. If you do the weekly plan, you pay the $350. And for whatever reason, if you're just absolutely, completely dissatisfied, which rarely happens, right? You've got 30 days. You can wait till the 29th day and the 23rd hour and the 59th minute, and we'll refund your money, no questions asked. You don't even have to call the credit card company. I'll do it for you. I know their numbers. You don't have to explain to them. You just send us an email or call us, and we'll reverse the charge for you ourselves. Can nursing mothers do it? Absolutely, but it's always a good idea. Of course, you want to talk to your doctor if you're pregnant or nursing. I mean, you should talk to your doctor anytime that you have a dietary change. But it is, remember, we've been selling this to doctors and clinics for 10 years. We are well vetted and have the highest quality of ingredients. We actually make the foods. We have our own plant. This person is that they don't need to lose weight. But they have high blood pressure. Can it help them? Absolutely. You saw how my numbers went down. You heard the testimonies of what actually is causing high blood pressure. It's not sugar. It's not salt, sorry. But it's how your body is handling the salts. And so we can reverse that on this program. This person, is it $797 every month? No, it's not. So make sure, here's an outline. is that it's $797 the first month. Then it's $300 the next month. Now, if, in this example, if you do it weekly, it's only $75 a week. Well, you're paying $15.28 a day times 7. That's $106, $107 a week. So you're going to be saving about $30 a week just in that example. So it's well affordable, but you don't have to pay $797 a month. Here's a runner, like I was talking about earlier, but he wanted to get rid of some extra belly fat. It'll absolutely work. We have a lot of professional athletes and world class athletes that are on our program. Not to even lose weight, just to maintain their health or to take it to the next level. This is a great question. Why hasn't my doctor told me about this or know about this? Well, doctors, it's not that they don't care. They're not in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies, but they only know what they know. And they don't teach us in medical school. And your doctor's taking care of the patients all day long. They can't go and read. They can't spend 18 months like I did and read 600 clinical studies. They have to treat their patients. So more and more are finding out through people like us that are going to them and switching them over, but not all of them know about it yet. I've been on so many diets. How is this diet different? Well, diet's different because we know exactly what to do. We know exactly where to go. We know where the dysfunction. Remember, every disease starts in the gut. What you're identifying is that certain microbiomes, certain bacteria cure certain ailments. And so you give that bacteria strain to them, and then the body knows how to fight the illness, and it solves the problem. So it's really not a drug. We're feeding your body with the natural elements the way that our creator made us, and that's what fights the battle for us, right? So the next question, I want to get my energy back and feel better. Well, you heard, I think it was Julie that talked about how she got her energy back in just a few days, and she was feeling better. Every one of them said that they were feeling better. Would it help with allergies? That's a great question. Allergies are because of our immune system is weak and it can't handle it. And so if we boost up, remember, our immune system is taught by our microbiome. Our microbiome teaches our immune system what to do and what bacteria to get rid of. And if you don't have those teachers, those microbiome in your gut, well, then how's your immune system going to know? So we'll boost that up. We'll fortify you with the ones that you need. And many, many people have completely gotten rid of their allergies altogether. So arthritis, I have terrible arthritis. Could it cure me? We don't like to use the word cure. The FDA gets mad about that. But if you don't have the symptoms anymore, then do we have to use the word cure, right? My goal is to make it so that you don't have that inflammation. And yes, it'll drive down inflammation levels, and you'll feel much, much better if less pain or no pain at all. I take Prilosec for digestive heartburn. Would it help? Yes. You heard one of the testimonies talk that he had gastric reflux, and it solved that problem. Now this is a great one. I don't need to lose a lot of weight, only about 15 pounds. Now this isn't people like me that were morbidly obese that has 80 pounds or 100 pounds or even 50 pounds to lose. People that just want to lose a few pounds, this program works perfectly for, and with great success. Oh, this is an awesome question. Is it FDA approved? Now, if any product out there, they tell you that it's FDA approved, I got to tell you they're lying, because the FDA doesn't regulate this type of food. They do prescriptions. They do medical devices. They don't do foods, and ours is a whole food. Now, they can say it was produced in a FDA approved or certified or compliant facility, which ours is, but the food itself, none of them are FDA approved. These great questions. Everybody, don't waste any more time. The results that you'll get. You've seen it here. I'm giving you 100% money back guarantee. I'm financing the plan for you on a weekly plan. don't waste any long. Don't put your body through any more pain than it has to. Call the number, the 866-832-3543, or talk with a person. Make sure that you got the name of the person that recommended you to come here, because I give them some benefits for that, and I'll give them to you when you want to brag about your results. I'll give you a bribe, a friendly bribe to brag about your results. And so tell us who you referred you, and let's get started today. I care about you. I love you. That's why I changed my entire career and life to helping people with chronic disease and microbiome issues. So take the time, do it for yourself, do it for your loved ones, and don't waste any more time. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later.